but a small one for you to grant, though so great a one for us to receive." "To tell you a piece of my mind," said the Captain, surlily, "I think you might as well not give the girls so much of this palaver; they'll take it all for gospel. As to Moll, why, she's well enough, but nothing extraordinary, though perhaps you may persuade her that her pug nose is all the fashion. And as to the other, why, she's good white and red, to be sure, but what of that? I'll warrant she'll moulder away as fast as her neighbours." "Is there," cried Lord, "another man in this place, who, seeing such objects, could make such a speech?" "As to that there," returned the Captain, "I don't know whether there be or no, and to make free I don't care; for I shan't go for to model myself by any of these fair weather chaps, who dare not so much as say their souls are their own; and for aught I know, no more they ben't. I'm almost as much ashamed of my countrymen as if I was a Frenchman, and I believe in my heart there i'n't a pin to choose between them; and before long we shall hear the very sailors talking that lingo, and see ne'er a swabber without a bag and a sword." "Well, 'pon honour," cried Mr. Lovel, "you gentlemen of the ocean have a most severe way of judging." "Severe! 'Fog George, that is impossible; for, to cut the matter short, the men, as they call themselves, are no better than monkeys; and as to the women, why, they are mere dolls. So now you've got my opinion of the subject, and I so wish you good night." The ladies, who were very impatient to be gone, made their courtesies and tripped away, followed by all the gentlemen of their party, except the Lord before mentioned, and Lord Orville, who stayed to make inquiries of Mrs. Mirvan concerning our leaving town; and then saying, with his usual politeness, something civil to each of us, with a very grave air he quitted us. Lord remained some minutes longer, which he spent in making a profusion of compliments to me, by which he prevented my hearing distinctly what Lord Orville said, to my great vexation, especially as he looked, I thought so at least, as if displeased at his particularity of behaviour to me. In going to an outward room, to wait for the carriage, I walked, and could not possibly avoid it, between this nobleman and Sir Clement Willoughby; and when the servant in the coach stopped the way, though the latter offered me his hand, which I should much have preferred, this same lord, without any ceremony, took mine himself; and Sir Clement, with a look extremely provoked, conducted Mrs. Mirvan. In all ranks and all stations of life, how strangely do characters and manners differ! Lord Orville, with a politeness which knows no intermission, and makes no distinction, is as unassuming and modest as if he had never mixed with the great, and was totally ignorant of every qualification he possesses. This other lord, though lavish of compliments and fine speeches, seems to me an entire stranger to real good breeding. Whoever strikes his fancy, engrosses his whole attention. He is forward and bold, has an air of haughtiness towards men, and a look of libertinism towards women; and his conscious quality seems to have given him a freedom in his way of speaking to either sex, that is very little short of rudeness. When we returned home, we were all low spirited. The evening's entertainment had displeased the Captain, and his displeasure, I believe, disconcerted us all. And here I thought to have concluded my letter; but, to my great surprise, just now we had a visit from Lord Orville. He called, he said, to pay his respects to us before we left town, and made many inquiries concerning our return; and when Mrs. Mirvan told him we were going into the country without any view of again quitting it, he expressed concern in such terms, so polite, so flattering, so serious, that I could hardly forbear being sorry for myself. Were I to go immediately to Berry Hill, I am sure I should feel nothing but joy; but now we are joined by this Captain and Madame Duval, I must own I expect very little pleasure at Howard Grove. Before Lord Orville went, Sir Clement Willoughby called. He was more grave than I had ever seen him, and made several attempts to speak to me in a low voice, and to assure me that his regret upon the occasion of our journey was entirely upon my account; but I was not in spirits, and could not bear to be teased by him. However, he has so well paid his court to Captain Mirvan, that he gave him a very hearty invitation to the Grove. At this he brightened, and just then Lord Orville took leave. No doubt but he was disgusted at this ill-timed, ill-bred partiality; for surely it was very wrong to make an invitation before Lord Orville in which he was not included. I was so much chagrined, that as soon as he went, I left the room. and I shall not go down stairs till Sir Clement is gone. Lord Orville cannot but observe his assiduous endeavours to ingratiate himself into my favour; and does not this extravagant civility of Captain Mirvan give him reason to suppose that it meets with our general approbation? I cannot think upon this subject without inexpressible uneasiness, and yet I can think of nothing else. Adieu, my dearest Sir. Pray write to me immediately. How many long letters has this one short fortnight produced! More than I may probably ever write again. I fear I shall have tired you with reading them; but you will now have time to rest, for I shall find but little to say in future. And now, most honoured Sir, with all the follies and imperfections which I have thus faithfully recounted, can you, with unabated kindness, suffer me to sign myself, your dutiful and most affectionate EVELINA. End of Letter XXIII.